Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different.
A lot different.
We're pulling back the Gothic ivy curtains on one of the most arcane and fiercely guarded institutions we've ever looked at.
We are.
We're talking about the centuries-old world of Yale's secret societies and the shadowy ninth house that was created, at least in theory, to keep them all in check.
It's a really fascinating architectural study of power, of tradition, and just pure messy magic. All of it is just sort of superimposed on what is, a very recognizable American college campus.
And we're not talking about simple club meetings with funny handshake rituals here.
No, not at all. You need to understand this is a deep dive into a highly functional magical system.
Right.
A system where ancient ritual dictates the literal fortunes of the global elite. All of it anchored in the unsuspecting infrastructure of New Haven, Connecticut.
Our source material for this gives us an incredible, really granular view into this hidden world, and it's all through the eyes of one character, Alex Stern.
Also known as Dante.
Known as Dante in the ninth house, yeah. She's the newest delegate of this oversight organization, Lethe House. And what makes her so unique is that she comes into this world of high society and, centuries of tradition, as a total outsider.
The complete outsider.
Carrying a massive debt and confronting things that are, frankly, far stranger than the trauma she's already trying to escape.
And our mission today is, it's pretty complex. We really need to meticulously map out this whole structure.
Okay.
We have to understand Lethe's mandate, why its mission is, you could argue, fundamentally compromised from the very start. We'll detail the terrifying and highly regulated specialties of the ancient eight societies.
And then the big one.
And then analyze exactly how a massive conspiracy, one involving murder and immortality, threatened to unravel the entire delicate, arcane ecosystem of the university.
That sounds like a terrifying tour, but let's take the first step.
Let's do it.
We need to start with the people who are supposedly in charge. The shepherds themselves. Lethe House, or Ilbestone, it positions itself as the ultimate watchdog, right? The police of the occult.
That's the idea.
So what is their fundamental belief about themselves, and how quickly does the cynical outsider perspective of Alex just dismantle that whole romantic, high-minded idea?
Well, their self-perception is encapsulated perfectly in their official motto, "We are the shepherds."
We are the shepherds.
And this isn't carved in marble over a grand entrance. It was on a cheaply printed pamphlet, which sort of suggests this blend of high-minded aspiration and maybe low-budget reality.
Right.
It's meant to convey guardianship, protection, and responsibility, keeping the stray magical realities from harming the mundane world.
But Alex, who has seen the brutal realities of life and magic up close, she doesn't buy the brand identity for a second.
Not for a second. Her street-smart perspective just instantly sees the irony in it. She thinks of the cynical, dark undertones of that Johnny Cash song, "The Man Comes Around." And she even recalls her late boyfriend, Len, who characterized the entire operation not as shepherds, but as shitty shepherds.
That's pretty blunt.
It is, and the implication is devastating. If you're a sheep relying on Lethe for protection, you're probably already doomed. Or at the very least, you're being steered directly into some dangerous, bloody ritual.
And the real reason for their existence is clearly less about moral enforcement, stopping bad magic, and more about just strict containment and damage control.
Exactly. Darlington, who is Alex's impeccably mannered mentor, her Virgil, so to speak, he puts the mandate into this really brutal context.
What does he say?
He essentially states that the Lethe's existence isn't a moral choice. It's an economic and political necessity. Their mandate is required because, and this is the direct quote, "too many powerful people rely on what the societies can do."
Okay, so that's the foundational constraint right there.
That's everything. They aren't trying to eliminate the magic, because that would mean destroying the power structure of their own alumni.
Yeah.
They're just trying to keep the messy, inevitable spillage of, human sacrifice and ritual gore from causing public, recognizable chaos.
So their entire job is to make sure the magical messes don't interfere with, say, the Yale precision marching band practice.
Precisely. And we have specific examples in the source material of what happens when they fail at that.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There was one time after an unsanctioned skull and bones ritual went completely awry, it resulted in just bizarre behavior and seizures in the members of the marching band.
No way.
It required massive high-level cover-ups and, magical cleansing. Lethe exists to prevent incidents just like that from becoming, like you said, Tuesday afternoon news. It's all about asset protection, not ethical policing.
Speaking of infrastructure, Lethe's main headquarters, Il Bastone, which means the ninth house, it sounds like a character in and of itself,
It really,
embodying that rigid tradition that Alex is constantly butting heads with.
it truly does. Il Bastone, it was built in 1882. It's this towering city house of red brick and very severe dark stained glass on Orange Street. But it's not just a building. Alex knows that the house is magically sentient.
Sentient.
It possesses a kind of awareness and a very definite traditionalist opinion on things.
How does that sentience manifest itself?
It's directly tied to the delegates' emotional states. It's fascinating. So when Darlington is around, the house literally hums happily. It senses his stability, his control, his competence.
Because he's the ideal delegate.
He's the ideal delegate, and the house responds to that sense of order. But then, when Alex returns, alone, wounded, terrified, traumatized, bringing all the chaos of the outside world across its threshold,
What happens then?
the house responds with a disapproving groan. Sometimes it even rattles, physically shaking, because it's sensing the raw, untamed trauma that Alex represents.
That's a perfect metaphor for the entire organization, isn't it? Rigid, ancient, traditional, and it's instantly judging the chaos and trauma that Alex brings, even though her unique experience is the entire reason they needed her in the first place.
Exactly.
So how does she then access their most secret resources within this judgmental house?
Well, the central resource is the secret library, and it's accessed via a hidden mechanism, a classic swinging bookcase. But the real key to the library is this massive ancient ledger it conceals, called the Albemarle Book.
And it's not just a card catalog.
Oh no, this book is far more than an index. It actually retains echoes of recent requests and the psychic residue of previous research.
Wow.
This is where Lethe delegates record their findings. Sometimes they're tracking obscure New Haven history or specific land deeds that relate to the magical nexuses or the schematics for various ritual sites across the city.
And Darlington was using this right before
He was deep in this research just before his disappearance. He was charting historical dates and connections, which Alex later has to rely on completely.
Okay, so we have the grand traditional headquarters, Il Bastone,
Right.
and then there's their second location, the Hutch.
Right.
And this feels like the perfect representation of Leith's other side, functional utilitarian magic covering up a really unpleasant, very mundane reality.
The hutch is maybe the most humanizing detail in all the source material. It's located in these secondary rooms above a commercial space that was, in its less glamorous days, a 24-hour Wawa mini-mart.
Oh, wow.
A Wawa that had an ill-fated Taco Bell counter inside it. For years, the Lethe diaries were just filled with complaints about the overwhelming odor of refried beans and grilled onions perpetually seeping up through the floorboards.
I can only imagine the smell of high-stakes occult administration mixed with fast food grease.
It was apparently unbearable.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1995, someone finally dedicated some serious magical effort to fix a very mundane problem.
And what did they do?
They enchanted the hutch and the staircase to perpetually smell of fabric, softener, and clove. This layer of illusion successfully masked the lingering scent of fast food shame.
That's incredible.
It's a perfect, practical example of the kind of maintenance Lethe has to perform. It's not just warding off demons, but ensuring their delegates don't quit over offensive odors.
Let's meet the team that's guiding, or at least trying to guide Alex through all this chaos. Obviously, Alex is the core of the story, known as Dante.
Right.
What was so exceptional about her that allowed the Ninth House to waive their traditional, extremely high standards for recruitment?
Alex's candidate standards were, to put it mildly, relaxed. They accepted her out of pure, desperate necessity.
And why?
This was due entirely to her unique magical ability, an ability she had fought her whole life. She could see the Greys, the ghosts, in their full, physical, and often really disturbing form.
And that's rare.
Incredibly rare. It's a true gift. And in a magical focal point like New Haven, where the veil is so thin, it's invaluable. Previous delegates couldn't police the Greys because they couldn't see them without drinking these toxic elixirs. Alex sees them just by looking.
And then there is Darlington, Virgil, the golden boy of the institution. He is the standard against which Alex is constantly, and I think unfairly, measured.
Absolutely. Darlington, he was raised by his fastidious grandfather right in the heart of this world. He embodies tradition. He prides himself on preparation, impeccable manners, a comprehensive knowledge of ancient languages and rituals.
Why is the complete opposite of Alex?
Totally. He teaches Alex through exhaustive research and uses these relatable and real-world analogies to make the dense magical concepts stick. He's even the one suggesting practical survival advice, like, carrying candied ginger to mitigate nausea during grisly rituals.
It's just an absurd contrast.
It's an intense, almost absurd contrast. Darlington is the polished blue blood who naturally fits the role, while Alice is the cynical outsider whose sheer survival instincts and unique sight are deemed essential, despite her lack of Latin, lack of a pedigree, or, any prior education.
Above them are the oversight Sandow and Dawes. How do they handle the high-stakes bureaucracy of magical oversight, and what are their respective points of tension?
Dean Sandow, he's the centurion. He holds the highest administrative role. His focus is explicitly on high-level affairs, particularly the financial and alumni funding concerns.
So he follows the money.
He is the one most concerned with upsetting the Ancient Eight because they are the system's lifeblood. This is a critical detail as it foreshadows the moral compromises Lethe will inevitably have to make.
And then there's Pamela Dawes, the Oculus.
Dawes handles the nuts and bolts of operations and logistics. She is the quiet, brilliant backbone of the whole operation.
What's her focus?
She's often described as being just completely absorbed in her exhaustive dissertation, a high-level academic study of Mycenaean cult practices in early tarot iconography.
Wow, okay.
Dawes is the crucial link. She's organizing supplies, ensuring wards are functioning, managing schedules. Alex eventually realizes that while Dawes is essential, she has to defer to the Dante and Virgil delegates when they're actively out in the field investigating a breach.
So Sandow is worried about the money, Dawes is worried about the paperwork and the magic, and Alex is just worried about staying alive.
That's the dynamic in a nutshell. And Alex finds both of them incredibly frustrating in their adherence to procedure, which she just views as a distraction from the brutal reality of the magic they are supposed to be policing.
The actual implements of magic they use are fascinating and often physically demanding. Let's start with the central, most powerful piece of equipment located in Il Baston's armory, Hiram's Crucible.
The Crucible, or properly known as the Oracerio, it is not merely a piece of lab equipment. It's a massive gold-warded vessel. Because it's enchanted, it is required for the most potent alchemical processes, specifically the mixing of the elixir.
It's a key anchor for them.
It is. It's key to Lethe's ability to function at all.
And this elixir is absolutely essential for anyone but Alex to perform their duties.
It is the ultimate shortcut and the ultimate risk. The elixir, which they also call the Golden Trial or Hiram's Bullet, is what allows non-gifted people like Darlington and all the previous delegates to briefly pierce the veil and see the magic and grace for themselves.
But it's not a pleasant experience.
No, the source material emphasizes that this process is incredibly painful, traumatic, and the mixture itself is highly toxic.
Alex views this with a certain, grim familiarity.
Yes, she brings her perspective as a former addict and survivor to this high magic. Having witnessed drug use and its painful consequences, she compares drinking the elixir directly to drug use.
How so?
She sees it as a desperate, painful means to gain a dangerous glimpse behind the veil at an extreme physical cost. It's a magical crutch the entire system is built on, which just highlights how truly reliant they are on artificial means to achieve even the basic level of magical awareness that Alex possesses naturally.
This theme of magical consumables helping the user function or manipulate others is a constant necessity for the delegates.
It is.
What are the key tools Lethe delegates use for everyday operational needs, especially the ones that border on unethical?
The gold compulsion coins are certainly high on the list of ethically great tools. They require tremendous magic to generate, meaning they are scarce and they're used very sparingly.
And how do they work?
When you flip one, the person who finds it is compelled to be, quote, eager to please.
And Alex doesn't hesitate to use one when the system fails her.
Exactly. When Detective Turner tries to shut down the investigation into Tara Hutchins' death, Alex needs to gather critical evidence from the body. So she uses a compulsion coin on the coroner.
Effectively manipulating a public official.
Completely. She instructs him, under the coin's influence, to allow her access to the body and then, crucially, to forget you met me. This illustrates how quickly Alex is willing to violate Lethe's own rules to achieve results. It demonstrates that her moral code is different. It prioritizes justice over procedure.
That's a powerful, high-risk operational tool. What about something more self-administered to help her keep up with the demands of the job and her academic life?
For that, Alex relies heavily on bassobelladonna.
What's that?
This is a high-risk stimulant that she internally dubs magical Adderall. The older Lethe journals confirm its historical use as a trick to, cut corners or pull all-nighters, but Alex needs it simply to function and maintain focus after Darlington's disappearance.
Especially given her academic situation.
Exactly. Given her extremely poor academic standing, it lets her process the vast, overwhelming amount of information she is suddenly responsible for. But the danger is palpable.
I bet.
The journals warn about its power, and Alex knows the crash is brutal. It's another temporary high-cost solution to a systemic problem. Asking an untrained civilian to manage the world's most dangerous secret society network while also trying to pass freshman English.
The source material makes it abundantly clear that New Haven isn't just a place where magic happens. It's a geologically, spiritually, and magically vital location for magic.
New Haven is the absolute center of this magical universe. It is explicitly described as a nexus where the veil, that's the barrier between the living and the dead, the mundane and the magical, is fundamentally thin.
And that's why they built here.
That is the precise reason the societies chose to build here, centuries ago. It is where magic, when practitioners moved from the old world, managed to catch and hold and take root. It just makes it easier to perform high-stakes, large-scale rituals.
And when that veil is tampered with or magic is used carelessly, it leaves a very specific, unpleasant signature.
Yes, it leaves an unmistakable, tangible residue, which Alex, who is highly sensitive to the magical environment, calls the stink.
The stink. What does it smell like?
She describes it vividly. It's like the electrical crackle of ozone after a storm, coupled with the rot of a pumpkin left too long on a windowsill.
That sensory detail is great because it combines the overwhelming energy of high magic with the decay of death.
It's putrid, and it's persistent. The stench is so hard to shake that Alex frequently has to shower, sometimes multiple times a day, just to avoid alarming her roommates or drawing unnecessary attention to the dark things she's been dealing with. It's a constant reminder that the magic she fights is physically dirty and dangerous.
The primary magical inhabitants Alex interacts with are the Greys, the ghosts. How dangerous are they generally, and what attracts or repels them?
In their general state, Greys are usually docile, vague, and often incredibly old. Their histories are sometimes documented in Lethe's redacted files. They're essentially fading echoes.
But they can be dangerous.
The danger arises if they form a bond with a living person, especially someone who can see and interact with them physically, like Alex. That intimacy can quickly turn destructive.
So what attracts them?
What attracts them is heartbreakingly simple. It's anything that reminds them of life and existence, because they desperately want back in. This includes spilled beer, raucous frat parties, the anxiety-filled libraries during exam time, or intense emotional outputs like dreams full of sex and terror. They are drawn to the feeling of being alive.
So how do you manage, contain, or banish these spirits?
Alex relies on two core methods, both rooted in the concept of memento mori reminders of death. The physical deterrents include bone dust and graveyard dirt, which, when scattered, create a boundary that spirits naturally avoid. Cemeteries, ironically, are some of the least haunted places in New Haven because they are constant, overwhelming reminders of finality.
And then there are the death words, which offer a more direct verbal confrontation.
The death words are fragments of Orphic lamellae. They're simple, powerful phrases that remind the Greys of their ultimate immutable fate.
And Alex learns to use these.
She learns to shout them. Things like the classic instruction, take courage, no one is immortal. The key to their efficacy is avoiding naming the ghosts, because a name creates intimacy and risks forming the very connection that leads to possession or chaos.
Interesting.
Darlington even noted that his favorite full Orphic hymn, O Spirit of the Unripe Fruit, was just too long and flowery for practical emergency use.
Oh, Lethe keeps the lid on the magic. They manage the Greys, and they handle the logistics. But what exactly is the magic they are policing? Let's transition now to the sheer, terrifying power of the Houses of the Veil.
The Ancient Eight.
The Ancient Eight are the true power players in this world. They are the landed societies that built their tombs over major nexuses of power. This isn't just tradition. It's a centuries-old strategic architectural move.
This placement is absolutely critical to the function of New Haven's magical ecosystem. The physical location of their tombs is what links their power directly to the city's magical grid, allowing them to draw on that nexus energy.
And they all specialize.
Each house specializes in a distinct, highly formalized branch of the arcane. But the core unifying purpose, which you have to remember, is profoundly practical. Their magic supports the ambitions and vast wealth of their alumni.
So it's all about getting an edge.
Whether it's predicting stock market movements or guaranteeing the outcome of a corporate merger, the magic provides a clear competitive edge.
Let's start with the big ones, skull and bones, and their specialty, which sounds truly stomach-churning.
Bones, founded in 1832, practices extispacy and splanchomancy, which is its divination using human and animal entrails, and specifically the organs. It's highly technical, involving specific cuts and observation of the living organs.
Living organs.
Yes. The source material details Alex being forced to observe a ritual where they used the exposed guts of a living subject, a man named Michael Reyes, to predict commodities' futures.
A living person. We need to emphasize the sheer horror and logistical complexity of that.
The source material is clear. The subject is kept alive, often heavily sedated, cloaked in powerful obfuscation veils when moved, and under heavy medical supervision to keep the organs stable and viable for the ritual.
That's horrifying.
And is a terrifying application of extreme medical and magical knowledge. And for the society members, the moral cost is zero.
And what does Alex see during this?
For Alex, her presence during this ritual is vital because she is the only one who can see the Greys, who are drawn by the living wound like flies stretching, jaws unhinged, trying desperately to crash the ritual circle and feed. Witnessing this ritual, witnessing the privilege cutting open a person for financial gain, it confirms Alex's deepest cynicism about the wealthy. They are literally cutting people open so that, as she observes, Chauncey can redecorate his summer home.
Next up is Scroll and Key, founded in 1842. Their specialty, while less gory, seems technically far more ambitious and volatile.
Scroll and Key specializes in Dreamer and portal magic. So basically, manipulating space, projection, and transportation across vast distances.
Teleportation.
Essentially, and it requires intense concentration and stability. Our source material records one instance where there was an unsuccessful attempt to set a subject to Hungary.
And what happened?
The volatility of the failure resulted in the tomb smelling strongly of goulash for weeks afterward.
Wait, really, goulash? That one detail just grounds the high-stakes magic in a strangely mundane culinary consequence.
It does. It shows the sheer instability. This house wants to move people and things across continents instantly, which would make them crucial for espionage and high-level secret communications. The goulash smell is the proof of the cost of failure.
Moving on, Book and Snake, 1863, brings us directly back to the dead, but in a highly functional way suitable for intelligence gathering.
They focus on Nikia and necromancy, but specifically on raising and utilizing glume.
What are glume?
They're not full sentient ghosts. They're more like the husk spirits of the recently dead, essentially temporary shells.
And what do they use them for?
These glume are raised to act as rapid, non-sentient messengers, traveling across the veil and great distances to relay very specific, discrete pieces of information.
So they are using the recently departed as a kind of macabre, magically accelerated delivery service.
Precisely. Alex witnesses their use in relaying information, like final accounts of recently dead soldiers in the Ukraine, in what is internally called a macabre telephone. It's highly efficient and incredibly difficult to intercept since it bypasses all conventional surveillance methods.
Showcasing the sophisticated corporate espionage the societies engage in.
Exactly.
And that leads us to Wolf's Head, 1883, specializing in shape-shifting, which sounds like an espionage specialist's dream.
Wolf's Head practices therianthropy. It focuses on the complex magic required to retain human consciousness while in animal form.
And the goal is intelligence gathering.
Primarily. And infiltration. You can't bug a room if the spy is a fly or a mouse, but you need them to be able to remember the conversation when they return to human form.
And the risks of this discipline sound existentially terrifying.
They are huge. We get two great anecdotes that highlight the risks of failure.
Let's hear them.
First, there was the lacrosse captain who turned himself into a vole. He successfully listened to the conversation, but when he returned, he still spoke in squeals for days. He was traumatized and temporarily unable to communicate the intelligence he gained.
Oh, wow.
The second is Shane McKay, who had significant trouble shaking off a rooster form. He ended up penned in the kitchen and losing a lot of feathers, a permanent physical consequence of a magical miscalculation.
And the deeper risk?
The deeper implication is the risk of losing your human self-awareness entirely.
Finally, the latest of the major houses, Manuscript, 1952, uses arguably the most insidious and perception-altering form of magic.
Manuscript focuses on mirror magic and glamours. It's all about the manipulation of perception, making people believe they are seeing or feeling things that aren't real.
And their parties are famous?
Their parties are critical to their magical economy. They siphon off all the desire and abandon of the holiday from the students, the raw energy of emotional excess, to power their rites for the rest of the year. They are essentially charging their magical batteries, using the emotional output of the general student body.
Darlington is wary of this house, and I can see why. If you can't trust your senses, you can't trust anything.
Exactly. Darlington stresses that the danger of manuscript is that you can't trust your own senses, especially after inhaling the magical mist or ingesting substances at their parties. The magic works on the mind.
And there's a chilling example of this.
There is. The chilling example provided in the source material is the girl who ingested something at one of their parties and permanently believed she was the tiger.
Permanently.
She was last reported to be in a very nice warded enclosure in upstate New York, running on acres, but still trapped in a cage of her own making, tragically unable to shake the delusion. Its permanent psychological damage wielded as a weapon.
The other two societies, while powerful, play more niche, specialized roles, starting with Aurelian.
Aurelian, founded in 1910, specializes in logomancy, which is divination through language and text. It's a highly stylized, almost artistic form of prophecy.
And we see a ritual of theirs.
We do. We see Alex and Darlington observe a ritual where a student named Zeb Yarrelman cuts his forearms, allowing his blood to soak a blank parchment.
And that blood becomes the message.
Yes. The blood, catalyzed by the magic, transforms into ink, covering his skin and the parchment in a palimpsest of text that reveals a specific story or prophecy. The danger here is the physical element. The ritual creates a huge, inviting pool of fresh blood, which heavily draws the grays, creating chaos that Alex is required to quell instantly using death words. It's messy, high-risk prophecy.
And St. Elmo's deals with the raw, chaotic power of nature itself.
St. Elmo's from 1889 focuses on tempestate artium, or elemental magic and storm calling. Crucially, they lost their primary nexus at Rosenfeld Hall, making their magic volatile and very hard to control.
So Lethe has to step in.
This is where Lethe steps in as maintenance. Alex and Darlington have to perform necessary maintenance using a silver weather vane and an old fuse box to channel the unstable energy, preventing a power surge that could short the power grid for the entire eastern seaboard.
They are literally preventing mass blackouts caused by rogue storm magic.
Literally.
Finally, there's Berzelius, a fascinating historical footnote in this magical hierarchy that serves as a kind of warning.
Berzelius, from 1848, tried to be different. They dedicated themselves entirely to science, technology, and rationalism. They viewed the other houses as superstitious charlatans.
And they did well for a while.
They even managed to survive the 1929 stock market crash without relying on arcane prognostication. However, their hubris was their downfall. They were nearly wiped out completely in the 1987 financial crash.
And the lesson?
Proving the society's ultimate lesson, one that Alex later internalizes. The only true magic was magic. Science and tradition alone cannot compete with arcane power fueled by a nexus.
Okay, we've mapped the system. Now here's where it gets really interesting. How these houses, and the fragile peace Lethe maintains, begin to intersect violently with the murder of a town girl, Tara Hutchins.
This is where it all starts to unravel.
Tara Hutchins was killed on a Thursday night, a ritual night. Detective Turner, the detective Alex reports to in the mundane world, immediately fixates on the boyfriend, Lance Grising.
Standard procedure.
But Alex knows immediately this is something else entirely.
She does. Tara was found with extreme stab wounds focused specifically on her heart. This suggested a highly personal attack or a highly focused ritualistic targeting, not just a random crime.
And she distrusts the official investigation.
Completely. And because she needs definitive arcane proof, she goes completely rogue.
She performs a diagnostic ritual on the body, despite Sandow's warnings, using a highly unusual musical accompaniment.
That's one of the great details that highlights Alex's unique style. She needed to make the blood dance, a ritual known as sangue saltito, but the traditional Latin chant was too clinical for her.
So what does she do?
She performed the chant to the tune of the Twizzlers jingle.
The Twizzlers jingle? Seriously.
Seriously. And the blood, in response, revealed specific harm. She determined that while Tara was frightened in her last moments, she hadn't been suffering physical pain before the attack. The killer had used something to dull the pain or manipulate her mental state prior to the fatal wound.
And the connective tissue between Tara, a town girl, and the high-powered societies turned out to be a potent designer drug.
Yes, Merity. And this was not standard recreational fare. It was a purified substance, likely psilocybin, grown meticulously in a Yale greenhouse located on the Marsh Mansion property, with the help of a grad student named Sveta Myers.
And the purification process is key.
The purification work required a crucible, even if it was just a small, cheap one like the one Tara used, linking the substance directly to Alchemical Society magic. Dawes later explains the historical significance of this.
What's that?
Holy men used purified psilocybin to literally open doorways to other worlds. This wasn't just a party drug. It was a potent magical catalyst, a gateway substance used to manipulate the veil, and its creation required technical knowledge only found within the houses.
The moment the drug connection emerges, the lines between town and gown and between magic and mundane crime blur completely.
They do, revealing massive systemic breaches. The investigation quickly showed Tara had been selling Merity and was deeply entangled with members of the Ancient Eight.
Who were her contacts?
Her contacts included Trip Helmuth from Bones, Kate Masters from Manuscript, who denied the sales but was clearly involved, and crucially, Colin Catry from Scroll and Key, who was also working directly for Professor Bellbaum.
So Tara, the town girl.
Tara, the town girl, was deeply integrated into the magical supply chain and economy, which is a huge and dangerous violation of Lethe protocol.
Let's focus on Alex, who has operated without her Virgil and without Sandow's approval. She employs some truly unauthorized, high-risk methods to gather evidence.
This is where Alex shines, relying on instinct and sheer nerve. We already talked about the use of the gold compulsion coin on the corner to gain access.
All right.
But to even get into Tara's apartment, which was warded and guarded by police, she had to use a manuscript glamour mirror.
A terrifying tool.
It is. It manipulates the perception of the police officer guarding the scene, allowing her to pass as a Patriots fan's cousin who simply wanted to collect some personal items.
The fact that she can seamlessly use these high-level magical tools, often in defiance of the people who taught her, shows how quickly she's adapting. What was her crucial find in that apartment?
It was Tara's retainer. Alex retrieved it because it still held the effluvia.
Magical residue.
Exactly. The trace evidence of whatever poison or drug had been involved in Tara's final hours. This retrieval later proves vital, because the effluvia allows her to track the source and specific type of poison, suggesting that Alex wasn't just investigating a murder, she was disrupting a magical supply chain that went straight to the top.
The pace accelerates dramatically now. Disaster strikes Lethe House directly when Darlington vanishes during what should have been routine maintenance at Rosenfeld Hall.
It was an immediate, devastating shock to the organization. Sandow desperately hoped it was a simple, non-fatal portal disappearance, a common risk with dimensional magic.
But Alex was there.
Alex was there, and she recalls the sheer terror in Darlington's eyes before he was enveloped in blackness. His final panicked word was, "huh," which strongly suggests he was trying to say murder.
This loss forces Lethe to resort to their most extreme, dangerous measures to try and retrieve him. What does the new moon rite entail?
The new moon rite is performed at Darlington's heavily warded family estate, Black Elm. It is a powerful, dangerous ceremony. Dean Sandow, alongside an Aurelian alumna named Amelia and a delegate named Josh Zielinski, attempt to specialize hound dog casting.
A hound dog casting. What is that?
They use the deed to Black Elm, a physical object imbued with Darlington's personal history and familial magic, as a kind of scent object.
To summon him back.
They're attempting to summon Darlington back from wherever he was pulled. It's an act of extreme magical desperation.
But instead of Darlington, the ritual goes catastrophically wrong and they summon something truly terrifying.
It summons a massive, hungry hell beast. Alex describes hearing this deep bass rattle emanating from the creature, reminiscent of crocodiles calling to each other from the banks of the river.
Oh, it's ancient.
It confirms the creature was ancient and immensely powerful, clearly summoned from a very deep, dark layer of reality, and it attacks immediately. It breaks Sandow's femur with its jaws, leaving the Centurion critically injured and helpless.
And that's the final confirmation.
That's it. The result is the final confirmation they didn't want. Dawes, shattered by the horrific ritual failure, confirms the worst. He's really gone. The system has failed its golden child.
With Darlington gone and Sandow injured, Alex is truly alone. She finds an unlikely and profoundly dangerous ally in the bridegroom, Bertram Boyce North.
North, who is the city's most notorious ghost, had been monitoring Alex because of her unique visibility. When Alex is ambushed and physically attacked by a figure using portal magic, the mechanic, she forms a desperate, immediate bond with North.
She lets him in.
She allows him to enter her. This grants her a burst of superhuman strength, enabling her to fight back against the physical threat. The cost, however, is severe. Alex gains access to North's traumatic, fragmented, centuries-old memories.
And North's true story turns out to be the hidden, horrifying genesis of this entire conspiracy.
It is. North was not simply a tragic lover. He was killed after a skull and bones prognostication ritual went sideways. They were using a nameless vagrant as the sacrifice, the kind of victim Lethe was meant to protect but always ignored.
And something went wrong.
The vagrant's traumatized, blood-soaked soul was accidentally shoved into North, momentarily possessing him. Panicked and not in control, North shot his fiancée, Daisy Whitlock. He was immediately banished as a ghost, forced to relive the trauma forever.
That's a profound detail. The elite sacrificing the forgotten, which then causes the trauma that creates the very ghost Alex has to rely on.
Exactly.
And this hidden past helps Alex decode a horrifying, systematic pattern of deaths that Darlington had also started researching.
North's fragmented memories, combined with the dates Alex sees scrawled on her paper, during an involuntary possession, 1854, 1869, 1883, they point to a series of girls who were murdered throughout the 19th century.
And what's the significance of those dates?
When Alex cross-references these seemingly random dates, they correlate precisely to the founding years of the trusts and financial foundations funding societies like St. Elmo's and Manuscript.
That means these weren't random occult accidents. They were intentional sacrifices tied to the creation of long-term magical investment funds.
Exactly. It suggests these murders were foundational, tied to the creation or sustenance of the magical nexuses beneath the new tombs. The violence wasn't the ritual. The violence was the cost of building the infrastructure of magical wealth.
Which connects the oldest, darkest secrets of the societies directly to the contemporary murder of Tara Hutchins.
Showing that the system is fundamentally built on exploiting and killing the marginalized.
Here is the big reveal, the terrifying true force behind the conspiracy. The seemingly gentle academic, Professor Marguerite Belbaum.
Belbaum, head of J.E. College, is revealed to be the original Daisy Whitlock.
Daisy Whitlock.
She survived her own death and transformed into a powerful parasitic entity known as a wheel walker. This is a unique and terrifying class of magical being.
What exactly is a wheel walker, and how did Belbaum achieve her terrifying parasitic form of immortality?
The possession by the vagrant's soul the day North shot her was the catalytic event. It saved her life, granting her immense, unstable magical power. She discovered she could sustain her life for decades, not by conventional magic, but by consuming the souls of others.
She feeds on them.
She's fundamentally dependent on this consumption for continued existence, but there's a massive catch. She is physically tethered to New Haven, the nexus where she was killed and resurrected.
So she can't leave.
If she attempts to leave the city, she immediately begins to decay. New Haven is her life support, but it is also her cage and her prison.
And she wasn't just killing random girls recently. She was highly selective and systematic, always starting with the forgotten victims.
Initially, yes. She killed immigrant girls, brown girls, poor girls, the easy marks who wouldn't be missed, mirroring the sacrifice bones made of the nameless vagrant.
But her targets got more sophisticated.
Her later targets were other wheel walkers like Sophie Mishkin and Kalina Tillman, because those gifted souls could sustain her for much longer periods. Alex, due to her unique ability and power, was her latest target.
And Belbaum was waiting.
Belbaum chillingly wanted to let ripen before consumption.
The ultimate confirmation of her evil comes when she addresses Darlington's disappearance directly to the dying Sandow.
In a moment of pure villainous confession, Belbaum admits she deliberately manipulated the new moon rite, using the Hell Beast to target both Alex and Darlington.
Both of them.
She confirms that Darlington's fate was not an accident, but intentional, stating chillingly that his powerful, pure soul was enough to sate the beast's appetite, saving Alex only because the beast was full. This exposes Belbaum not just as a killer, but as the master manipulator who destroyed Lethe's golden boy.
The final confrontation is truly operatic, starting with Dean Sandow's desperate, tragic attempt to stop Belbaum, using the very methods Alex had practiced on the Greys.
Sandow, critically injured and facing inevitable death, attempts to use the ancient death words against Belbaum, hoping to banish her. He doesn't use the quick phrases Alex uses, but recites the full, solemn banishment from Thomas Gray's elegy, written in a country churchyard.
What does he say?
The curfew tolls the knell of parting day.
That's incredibly poetic, but utterly ineffective.
It's too late. Belbaum had already met and bested death centuries ago. She kills Sandow, and, in her final act of malice toward Lethe House, consumes his soul.
And this is Alex's most horrible realization.
Because Belbaum ate his soul, Sandow will never pass behind the veil. His existence is permanently terminated. He is denied even the peace of becoming a gray.
But Alex, fueled by adrenaline, pain, and the power of New Haven's nexus, delivers the final destructive blow.
Alex harnesses her full, unprecedented power, something she didn't even know she possessed. She focuses her terror, her fear, and her sheer raw longing to live, summoning an overwhelming tide of grays.
An army of ghosts.
They're drawn by the magnitude of her emotional output, flooding the room, overwhelming Bellbaum, and consuming the wheelwalker, leaving only a pile of dust.
And North, the ghost who started the whole nightmare, is devastated by the end of his fiancée.
North had spent centuries clinging to the memory of Daisy, desperately trying to see the human side of her, whispering to Alex, she isn't a monster, she's just a girl.
But Alex sees the truth.
Alex sees the truth. Bellbaum knew better. She chose to become the monster. North is left staring at the heap of dust, heartbroken, realizing the girl he shot was irrevocably replaced by something inhuman.
This leads us to the most crushing realization of the whole deep dive. The system itself, the one Alex was recruited to protect, is utterly compromised and designed to protect the powerful, even the guilty.
This is the definitive takeaway, and it's why Sandow's earlier concerns about funding become so important. Alex learns that Lethe will impose only fines on the guilty societies, manuscript and scroll and key, who were complicit in Bellbaum's supply chain and concealment.
Just fines.
Just fines. Sandow, before his death, had admitted that Lethe cannot destroy two powerful houses because they are kept alive by their funding.
So the organization created to police the system cannot survive without the very money generated by the crimes they are supposed to prevent.
It's the definition of a catch-22. Alex finally understands the systemic truth. Powerful individuals and institutions, whether an immortal wheelwalker or a centuries-old secret society, take what they wanted and are never truly punished. They simply pay a fine, and the cycle continues.
That's a bleak realization, but it also births a new kind of power and knowledge in Alex Stern.
Having absorbed the necessary knowledge, including the mechanics of a wheelwalker and the nexus, Alex realizes she now possesses the ability to create a nexus herself, which is the ultimate power play.
That's a huge burden.
It's an incredibly isolating, soul-shattering piece of knowledge. She understands that to survive and maneuver in this world, she has to act normal, pretend nothing had happened, a survival strategy she'd been using her entire life. The outsider has survived, internalized, and mastered the mechanics of ultimate arcane power, but the cost is profound isolation.
What a trajectory. Alex started this whole mess as an indebted outsider, barely surviving academically and constantly battling her unique abilities and trauma. She ends it having survived a centuries-old immortal conspiracy tied to the deepest magical roots of the university.
And possessing knowledge that makes her arguably the most powerful figure in New Haven.
It's a truly stunning transformation.
Her transformation is complete. She's moved from Dante the novice to Dante the master. She went from merely observing the magic Darlington showed her, to utilizing forbidden compulsion, to ultimately mastering the fundamental forces of the Nexus by weaponizing the Greys themselves.
She's indispensable now.
She's proven herself indispensable, but the lesson she learned is brutal. Lethe, the supposed policing organization, is ultimately subservient to the dangerous magic and the money that underpins the Ancient Eight. The system doesn't reward those who police power, it rewards those who utilize it, however ruthlessly.
That's a heavy note to end on, suggesting a necessary moral breach for anyone who wants to operate outside the system's predetermined rules. But one final, provocative thread remains hanging, tied to Alex's original self-imposed mission.
It is. Bellbaum confirmed that the souls she consumed, from the nameless vagrant who possessed North to the other wheelwalkers to even Dean Sandow, would never pass behind the veil. They are permanently extinguished.
Right.
So given Alex's final duty to the dead, and the fact that Tara Hutchins' life and death exposed this entire secret world,
What's the question?
what exact steps will Alex, now equipped with her new, profound knowledge of soul magic and Nexus creation, take to find and finally rest the tormented soul of Tara Hutchins? It's a question of whether she will continue to follow Lethe's compromise guidelines, or if the necessity of justice for the forgotten will force her to forge a new, potentially darker path. You have to wonder how long she can maintain the pretense of normalcy while holding that kind of power.